Coach Grant here with Optimal Performance, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a mobility routine that you can do on your own without any equipment needed. Full body, head down to toes. So I do recommend either having socks on, or you can go ahead and take the socks off as well when we get to that portion. But this is a routine that you can do either pre-workout, you can do it as a standalone mobility routine, or you can do it pre-game just to check in with the body and see how everything's feeling. So starting position on these today, we're gonna start in a quad position, and we're gonna work on some different cat-cow positions as we go through. So we're gonna start off working on the low back. So how we're gonna focus on that low back is I'm gonna have you guys in a quad position. We're gonna take it down to the elbows. From here, what we wanna do is we're gonna go ahead, top of the head down into the hands, and then we wanna lift those hips up and drive through the shoulders so that we can really block in that upper back and focus on what that low back's doing. So what we're looking for on the low back is we're looking to just nice and easy work into extension down and then flexion up to that top position. So with these, take it super slow, especially if your back is sore or you've had some back issues before. You may want to take it really light and easy on these. But let's work back and forth. We'll get about 5 each. Taking it slow, deep breath in as we drive up. Exhale as we take it into that extension. Check in and see if it is feeling kind of tender. Again, just take it really slow with it. Once we get about 4 to 5 each way on that low back, we're going to work it into the upper back next. Now with the upper back, one thing I want you to focus on, and I'll talk about it once we get into position here, is what we're doing at the neck. A lot of people overextend at the head, and they don't necessarily target that upper back area, kind of between the traps as we go through. So how I'm gonna have you guys get these is we're gonna go ahead and point the toes back and away. We're gonna sit the hips all the way back, and again, kind of like we blocked that upper body for the last one, this is gonna block in that low back from wanting to extend and flex too much. So we're gonna sit all the way back. Elbows are gonna be just in front of the knees. From here, what I want you to focus on is driving through the shoulder blades. So we're gonna drive up through the shoulder blades as we drop the head down. And then just the opposite, as we extend that chest down towards the ground, rather than looking up and driving our chin forward, I want you to think about creating a double chin and then nice and easy taking kind of the back of your head just gently up towards the ceiling. So again, we're not extending at the head. I want you to think about double chin, pack that chin, and then back of the head up towards the ceiling. And again, you should really feel that contraction kind of between the shoulder blades, maybe up a little bit higher from there, and then nice and easy, driving it the opposite way. Again, taking it back down, back of the head up towards the ceiling, chest down towards the ground, driving back up and away from there. So again, take it slow. You don't have to do a lot of reps. I would rather focus on quality of reps on these. Pausing on each. Once we get about 4 to 5, go ahead and relax it down. Last one we've got for the spine before we're working the shoulder blades is gonna be working on some rotation. So what we're gonna do on these from that same position, imagine like you're in a tunnel and you don't want to break out of that tunnel or that pipe as we go through. So set up, we're gonna keep the right elbow on the ground. With your left hand, we're gonna go ahead and tuck it into the opposite back pocket. Now on these, what we want to think about again is make sure that we're not raising up with it. So stick in that tunnel. We want to think about driving that bottom elbow into the ground and then squeezing our shoulder blades, and try to imagine like we're stacking our shoulder blades over top of each other. So we're opening up. Nice and easy back down from there. Let's go ahead and get 3 each side. So again, open up, stack those shoulder blades as much as you can. Taking it back close. Let's get one more here. Back down to that starting position, and then we'll go ahead and change sides from there. So again, we're gonna replace left elbow on the ground, right hand's gonna go in the left back pocket, and then same thing on these, we're sticking in that tunnel, we're pressing that elbow, the left elbow through the floor, as we open up with that right shoulder, stack it up, and then control back down. Getting 2 more here, stack it up. This is a good time to check in and see how it feels side to side. If it feels like we're able to get a little bit more range of motion on one side, that may need to tell us that, hey, maybe we should work on this side that we feel more limited on a little bit more from there. So feel free to do a few more as you need to. We're gonna roll it into our next exercise, which is gonna be some scapular push-ups. We're gonna go from a quad position. So a few ways you can progress these up. We're just gonna go basic for today from a quad position. You can go up into a quad plank position, or if you want to, you can step the feet back into a full push-up. But again, just starting off very basic on these. What we're gonna focus on is we wanna lock the elbows out. And I want you to, rather than thinking about flexion and extension through the back, we're locking in that neutral spine position and we're just sinking our chest down towards the ground and then pressing up and away from there. We should feel those shoulder blades start to pull back towards the spine, and then we should feel them protract and wrap forward around that rib cage as we go through. Let's get 5 here. You may start to feel that it loosens up a little bit as you go through, and that's awesome. 4, let's get 1 more. Working up. And relax it back down from there. So now that we've got the spine loosened up, we're gonna roll it into some shoulder cars. So shoulder cars today, again, there's a few different ways you can do them. We're gonna go ahead and do it from that same quad position instead of standing up and moving all around from there. So from that same quad position, we're gonna start off on our right arm. So we're gonna rotate. We're gonna externally rotate that shoulder. Make sure we're not just opening up that hand. So we want that movement coming from the upper arm. We're gonna rotate that bicep up towards the ceiling. You can make a fist if you want to, open hand. Big thing I want you to try to focus on is try not to bend that elbow as we go through, because that's just a compensatory pattern that tends to happen if we don't quite have mobility and we're trying to just make as big of a circle as we can. So bicep up towards the ceiling. We're gonna go bicep next to our ear, try to get up as high as we can. Once we feel like we're hitting that block up at the top, we're gonna start internally rotating and reaching back like we're trying to reach up to the ceiling. Take it super slow all the way around. As you rotate, we want to try to, as we come back around, we want to try to really keep on rotating internally, back around. We're going to go hands by our knee, and then just the opposite. We're going to keep that internal rotation. We're going to shoot it back till we hit a wall, and then we're going to externally rotate. Nice and easy, reaching up and around. Externally rotate. All the way back up to that starting position, and let's get 1 more on this right side. You can do 2 to 3, especially if your shoulders are feeling really tight. We're just gonna do 2 for this video. So same thing, coming up. But again, feel free to pause the video if you wanna do a few more reps with any of these exercises that we're going through today. Up and around, keep that internal rotation, shoot it back, reach it back, up, rotating, bicep up towards the ceiling. Back to that starting position from there, and then we'll switch over to the left side. So I'm gonna turn around just so you can see what the left arm's doing. Same as the right, we're gonna be in that quad position. We're gonna go left arm extended forward, bicep up towards the ceiling, nice and easy, elbow locked out. We're gonna reach up as high as we can. Once we hit that wall, start internally rotating. Rotate as we reach up and back. Rotate. Keep on rotating if you can. And we're just checking all the different corners on this mobility drill. So rotation is really the key on these. Keep that internal rotation. We're gonna shoot it back up towards the ceiling. Again, once we hit that wall, super slow. Externally rotate as much as we can. Bicep up towards the ceiling. Back to that starting position. And again, for this video, we're gonna get 1 more, but feel free to pause it and do another one from there. So bicep up towards the ceiling, reach it up. Once we hit that wall, internally rotate as we reach up and back. Keep rotating. Down next to the knee, let's get 1 more back here. So super slow. Now with these, you wanna take it slow. The faster you go, we start to not really feel much out of it. And you also wanna think about irradiation. So it's something I go through with my FRC class, but think about just tensing up through the body. We wanna make sure we're locking in everything except that arm that we're rolling through from there. So as we finish up with the 2, we're gonna work it down into the hips next. One of my favorite mobility exercises for the hips is gonna be the 90-90 hip switches. So that's what we're gonna work into next. From a seated position, stay tall or as tall as you can with the upper body. You may find that it feels really crunchy or we're not quite able to get it. So our regression would be just to lean back a little bit as you need to. If it's easy, come up tall. If you wanna make it a little bit harder, think about that irradiation like I talked about. So just tensing through the upper body, we can go arms out to the side. Lock them in there. Again, choose the variation that's going to be challenging for you. So for this video, what we're going to do is we're going to think about that irradiation through the upper body and through the whole body. So again, tensing up to about 40 to 50%. We're going to start off going to the right side. So knees are going to be just outside shoulder width. Nice and easy. We're going to start rotating over to the right side. And it's called 90-90 hips because as we're rotating, we want those hips and knees to make a 90-degree angle. So we're gonna rotate towards that front leg. Think about driving that front knee down through the ground. 90-90 position. And then starting the movement with the back leg on the way back, we're gonna open up as far as we can and take it super slow. Open, drive those knees apart if you can. Super slow, we're gonna rotate over to the opposite side. Shoulders rotating towards that knee, and then we're gonna drive it down on that opposite side. Keep your breathing as we go through. We're gonna go 3 each way on these. So again, back to the starting side, super slow. Taking it back around. Drive those knees down as much as you can. Let's take it into the second rep. Deep breath, pack that air down into your core and think about shallow breaths as we go through. Taking it back to the left side, super slow. Hold. Again, it's always a good thing to check in with that posture, especially as we go through. It's easy to start thinking about so much about our hips that we start to lose positioning with that upper body and we start flexing over. So take it slow, check in with that posture. Let's get 1 more each way. So again, knees up. Super slow, try to keep space, keep space. Imagine like the air is really thick, almost like our lower body is submerged in water as we go through. So we're cutting through that water. Super slow, last one back. And relax it down from there. All right, take a quick breather. We're gonna go ahead and take it into just some eccentric external rotations of the hips next. We're gonna get 3 each side. So this is a little bit more progressed up. So if you need to, you can go hands on the ground. If you feel like you can do these, go ahead, hands up at the chest. I'm gonna go hands on the ground just as a basic regression, show you guys how these are gonna be set up. So we're going to the right side in that 90-90 hip position. I'm gonna have you go hands around that front knee. Again, tall position. Big thing as we go through with these is maintaining that neutral spine position from our butt all the way up through our head. So make sure we're not just rounding at the spine as we go through on these. So keep that tall position. Deep breath in, pack that air down, and then super slow. We're not using our hands unless we need to, but we're gonna use that bottom leg to eccentrically control that stretch as we go down. So we're controlling it. Once it feels like we can't hold anymore and we're falling, go ahead and reset. Back up to the top, we're gonna get 2 more. So again, deep breath, pack that air down. Hold, and then nice controlled. Using that leg, so we should think about actively driving that leg through the floor as far as you can, work it back up. Let's get 1 more rep here and then we'll switch over to the opposite side, all right? So again, deep breath, pack that air, think about that irradiation, and then super slow. Again, my hands are just hovering, taking it down. As soon as it feels like we don't have any more power, set those hands down, bring it back up, and then we'll switch over to the left side. Same thing on this left side, getting into that 90-90 position. So back knee straight out from the hip, hands next to the front leg here. Again, we want to think about staying tall, and then super slow, pack that air, and control that eccentric here. Catch, reset. Again, that lower leg is going to be controlling all this, so really drive that leg down. Breath, pack it down, super slow. Back up to the top. Let's get 1 more rep here. And feel free to mess around with the angle of that front leg as well. If it's a little bit too hard on the knee, you can bring that foot back a little bit as you need to, or you can also place a yoga block or a soft pillow under that front knee. Let's get 1 more here. Deep breath, pack that air, and then slow. Again, if you can go hands up at the chest, and then reset back up to the top. Next up, we're gonna work into some knee cars and some toe cars. So for our knee cars, what I'm gonna have you do is we're gonna go ahead and take let's say we're starting off on this right leg, we're gonna take that right arm, we're gonna loop it underneath. Now there's a few different ways you can lock in this upper leg, and the main thing we're looking to do is just minimize how much rotation is coming from that upper leg. So we're gonna lock it around. You can either hold onto the hand, or you can go bicep, almost like a jiu-jitsu hold, and then hold onto the knee from there. So it's just a little bit of rotation, but what we're looking for on these is we want to feel a little bit of rotation coming from this upper leg here. Now, of course, you're going to get some with the ankle as well, but we should really start to feel the muscles around here start to activate. So this is really good for a lot of field sports like football, soccer, sports that have kind of non-contact rotational, because it's when you start to lose that rotation that risk of injury can increase up a little bit from there. So we're going to lock in that leg. For me, it's a little bit more comfortable from this position, but from here, we're going to internally rotate. We're gonna extend up. Now make sure we're not locking that knee out, and you have to have crazy flexibility to get there anyways, but keeping just a soft bend, we're gonna rotate out, bring it back down, extend up, bring it in, rotate back down. And again, just take a look at that knee. Make sure that that kneecap isn't moving too much side to side, because that just goes to show that we'd be getting more rotation from that upper leg than we necessarily want. Like I said, as you go through, we should start to feel these in that upper shin area. Let's get one more back. We'll get 3. Relax it down, and then we'll switch over to the opposite side. Again, at any moment, feel free to pause the video and work a little bit more on those, especially if you're feeling tight in those areas. So same thing on this left side. We're gonna go left arm underneath, lock it together, or you can go into the hold from this position as well. But we're gonna start off pulling back. Again, checking with that upper body as well. Make sure that we're not slouching over. So getting tall with it, we're gonna rotate in, extend up, rotate out, bring it back down, up, bring it in, back down. That's 1. Let's get 2 more here. Super slow down, in, and let's get 1 more for 3 on this side. Up, out, down, in, and back down. Again, so checking with the knees. Another really good CARS exercise you can work on is just the kneecaps, especially if you have tracking issues. It's just a good way to check in. So next up, while we're in this position, we're gonna go into some kneecap CARS. So for these, I want you to think about straightening that leg, but don't lock it out. Otherwise, those muscles are just gonna lock that kneecap into place. Now, if you feel weird moving your kneecap, get over it and do it anyways. But what we're looking for on these is straight leg, but make sure we're not locking it out. Hold onto that kneecap, and we're gonna start off just going front to back. So we're just gonna get about 2 to 3 on these, but check in. If you do find that you're really limited or it's not moving, this may be one that you wanna work on a little bit more. But after front to back, we're gonna work side to side. We're gonna go corner to corner. And then the last one, opposite corner to opposite corner. Again, you should have movement in those unless you have an artificial knee or some other issue that you may not have that movement. But switching over to the opposite side. But again, this is a good exercise if you do have some patellar tracking issues or patellar pain underneath there, just to check in and see the mobility of that kneecap, because you should have free motion in there. Again, forward to back, side to side, and then we'll work into those corners there. Next up, we're gonna work down into the toes. So again, this is why I said for this mobility drill, I want to either go in socks, or you can also take your socks off. But it's one of those where a lot of times we don't think about what our feet are doing and what kind of mobility we have in our feet, especially if you're stuck in shoes all day. Your toes can tend to just kind of get stuck together. We lose the ability to move them, activate them, and your foot is basically the whole balance system that we have in our lower body. So we should be able to feel the ground. That's why a lot of times I recommend for my athletes also working on some barefoot stuff, but also doing a lot of your training, especially initially barefoot, because it gives you a better feel for the ground. But what we're gonna work on for these is gonna be some toe CARS, and I may be going out of picture here, but what we're gonna focus on with these is with the feet. So we're gonna go both at the same time. I want you to go ahead and get into just a neutral position. So this is also a good chance to check in and see what neutral position feels like. So a lot of times, if we're not aware of it, we can tend to lean into pronation, where we're kind of collapsed in on the arches. So we wanna think about centering up. From there, we wanna think about these first 3, just moving all of our toes together. So we're just going 3 reps on these. We're gonna lift all our toes up and then set them back down, and almost think about pushing them through the ground. Lift them up, push them through the ground there. So again, I'm just doing 3 here, but feel free to pause the video if you wanna get a few more reps from there. After we get through all 10 toes raising up, next up, we're gonna move into just the big toe. Now, if you've never worked on these before, it can feel really weird, so take it slow. It's almost more of a mental game than it is physical from this point. So what we're gonna do next is I want you to think about driving your small toes into the ground, and we're gonna lift the big toe up, all right? As high as you can, and then drive it through the ground. Lift that big toe up, drive it down through the ground. This is also a good chance for you to check in on the mobility of that big toe and how much active versus passive range of motion we have. So if you're able to passively lift that big toe up to 90, but then actively we're only getting it, about 70 degrees, that'd be a good time to work on these on strengthening through that top range of motion. After we get through those reps, next up we're gonna drive the big toe down, we're gonna lift the little toes up, and then nice control down. Lift them up, control down. Same thing, I'm just gonna get 3 here, but feel free to do more on your own. After we go through the little toe lifts, we're gonna lift all 10 together. Going back to the big toe, we're gonna tap that big toe to the ground while keeping the little toes up, and then lift back up. Tap. Again, if you've never done these before, it might be extremely hard, but it's a good chance to check in with the feet and see what kind of control you have with those feet. Again, just getting about 3 to 4 here. Next up, we're gonna keep the big toe up and we're gonna tap the little toes. So tap them down and then lift them back up. You will find the more that you work on these, the easier it is gonna get. So take your time with it. Again, just getting 3 there and relax. The last one, if you have made it this far, is to think about what's called piano playing. So we're gonna start off with the little toes, lift up through the big toe, and then set them down in that order, and then you can work the opposite way from there. Again, I'm just gonna get 3 for today, but feel free to pause it and work on a little bit more from there. So that's just a quick mobility routine that you guys can add into your pre-workout, or you can add in before a game, or just as a standalone mobility drill as well. I recommend slowing it down and pausing the video on different exercises if you do feel some tightness going on there, and spend a little bit more time exploring those areas, and let us know how you feel after.